Former FBI agent Brad Garrett and former New York Police Department Chief of Detectives Robert Boyce, both of them ABC News contributors. And thank you for being with us. And Brad, if I could just begin with you on the question of how this response, where this goes now. It looks the suspect surrendered quickly. It does sound like he may have said something.
Asked for a lawyer.
Asked for a lawyer.
Handgun was on him.
Invoked his Fifth Amendment rights, surrendered his handgun. What do you make of what we've just heard?
So this is a shooter apparently that didn't want to take his own life. He went there to seek revenge upon maybe specific students, maybe just on the school in general. Obviously we don't know a motive. So you do occasionally have these shooters that either let themselves get caught, like Nicholas Cruz at Parkland and others, and then you have the ones who make the police either shoot them or they shoot themselves. So he needed to inflict damage on this school or particular individuals or a particular teacher, and that's why he went there. I mean, Terry, we've had this conversation a number of times. This is all about power and revenge.
You know, Bob and Brad, we're looking at these pictures now from earlier when this first happened, seeing some of the victims there being brought out to the ambulance. You know, looking at the number of those that were injured, also the deceased. They just said in the press conference, too, that they're still looking around the high school just to make sure there aren't any other students that have been injured. But, you know, what stood out to me, Bob, is, boy, it was an all-call here, from air assets to ground assets. You had the SWAT team, FBI, everybody coming in full bore. And when the PIO for the fire department was asked about that, or the sheriff's department was asked about that, he said, because we didn't know what we had. We didn't know how many victims there were going to be. We didn't know how massive it was going to be. And, you know, two things struck me. Okay, good for them for responding so quickly with so many assets, but also my heart just sunk thinking this is the way we think now. We don't think, oh, we've got, you know, an emergency call, a 911 call. We hear active shooter and we think it's going to be another mass school shooting. And that's just heartbreaking.
It certainly is, Garrett. When you think about another terrible day in America, when you see these things and you see how good law enforcement has gotten through their training and their ability to bring resources immediately, that immediate entry into the building, he gives them about a 5-minute thing, 12:51, 12:56, the purpose in custody, he gives it up. He knows information how the perpetrator got the gun in, the 15-year-old. He's not releasing that right now, but a lot of preliminary information went out. So they have things well in hand. And that is also a statement. We're way too good at this because it's happening more and more. We train for this, we go forward. The undersheriff put out a lot of information, a lot of important things. We don't know what the issue is with this young man or young woman. I think it's a young man. And we'll find out through social media and other things because he's already, what we say, lawyered up. So he's had some planning. Right now they're going to go through the school and see if there's any IEDs. That's also a possibility. But we'll see as it goes forward. As we go forward here, he's already asked for an attorney, so that stops. Now we have over 100 9/11 calls. Don't know how many are ear witnesses or eyewitnesses. That'll all be developed. But real tragedy here, and that's a big problem in America. We're getting really good at responding to these because everyone is doing this.
Bob, that is such a good point. 100 911 calls. And if you think about what that represents our children on their cell phones calling police and school teachers as well. But just as the police were prepared and trained and the other forces coming in, basically our children are trained to operate in a combat zone. In a hostile environment at the very least these days. And one other thing, Bob, on the police response there was a school deputy there on the scene. And the shooter surrendered himself and was taken into custody by that deputy. That is police presence in schools. Oxford High School has a sheriff's schools deputy on the scene. And for all we know, he confronted him. We'll find out more, I'm sure. But that is one of the virtues. The controversy about police presence in schools. This is an incident that perhaps demonstrates at times they're needed.
Very great point. And police should be nearby, should be in the school, if only as a deterrent. And I know, when I went to school, we didn't have such things, but we do now. We do know the fact that he got the gun inside. There's no metal detection, which is not uncommon in America. But this is things we don't expect, but you have to be ready for it. So that argument of not having police involved in the schools is pretty thin right now, I believe.
And, you know, we've one more question, gentlemen, if you don't mind. Brad, let's take it to you. And we've talked a number of times about this in various school shootings. Sometimes, you know, the shooters lose their life via the law enforcement response. In this case, he turned himself in, had the gun on him. What does that tell you about this young man? He didn't clearly want to take his own life, and a number of times we do see that happen.
Right. He just wanted to make, as I said earlier, he just wanted to make a statement, and he wanted to go after either the school for whatever it represented. And I will tell you, based on his age, Kira, I'll be shocked if there's not social media behavior on his part to talk about dark things, maybe talk about harming people. He may well have mentioned it to other kids that he was thinking about doing it. Perhaps, as Bob stated, in those 100 or so 911 calls, there may be pieces of information, but they'll be able to put this case together. But to your point, when a shooter goes into a scene, whether it's a school, a factory, whatever it might be, that's really all they think about, because this is all about getting revenge against people. And so thinking about, where am I going to go after the shooting? Am I going to kill myself? I'm going to have the police kill me. I mean, some of them just don't even think that way. And in this case, and you also don't know how quickly, because there's a school resource officer and the police got there in under 5 minutes, did he even have a chance to do anything else? You know, we don't know the circumstances of his arrest. But, you know, the real key here is they did get him, and he didn't attempt, obviously, even if there was only a few seconds, to shoot a deputy or somebody else, because I think that wasn't his target. His target was either specific individuals or what the school represented. You know, was he bullied? Whatever it might be, he was going after that school today.
Absolutely. 3 high school students shot and killed today in Oxford, others injured. Brad Garrett, Bob Boyce, we thank you so much. We depend on your expertise and experience in so many areas, but in this one especially. Thanks very much.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.